final chapter of Fairy Tale, chapter 545, entitled Irreplaceable Friends. Looking at the chapter, it starts off a year on from the battle with Echnologia, X793, and Lucy's received the Chem Zelion Prize, which is an award for the best author, The Adventures of Miss Iris. I thought it was a nice touch to start it off this way, since Lucy's ambition for an author has always been a driving part of her character, but ever since the Daybreak arc and Duke Everloo, so it was nice to see her finally receive this. Though, of course, we get the typical rowdy fairy tale guild. They're fighting and eating and just causing lots of ruckus. It's a really nice way to, to show all the characters for the last time. You've got Kana getting drunk, Natsu eating all the time, and of course, Happy eating, Carla scolding him, and Juvia getting all fangirling over Grey, and Kajil eating iron even. So yeah, so in itself, it's a nice way to start off, for one last time and seeing all of Fairy Tale doing their own thing. We get a little recap of Lucy in terms of what's happened. So in terms of her writing the book, she didn't get particularly rich. Her dreams did come true at least. The rest of the chapters really, as with many final chapters, more of a where are they now of the main characters and the minor characters. We get a bit about Anna and how she's still in this time. Of course, some might say that's somewhat of a time paradox. I mean, Lucy even brings up that, she's her ancestor and she's still in her time, which is kind of weird. But she's a teacher at a village, much like she did with the Dragon Slayer kids 400 years ago. Aside from that, and here we go, we're getting to the shipping. Mashima is always the ultimate troll, and so it's interesting seeing how he's handled the shipping pairings, which have dominated the fandom up until the final chapter. There is some good news, of course. There's Kajil and Levy having gotten super close, according to Lucy. And we get some, hints from Levy that she and Kajil's relationship might have gotten further than we think. Of course, Lucy is all blushing, and so is Wendy, but it seems highly likely there's going to be a Kajil-Wendy love child on the way, or dare I say it, 2 kids, going by that light novel. Well, at least for the Kajil-Levy fans, that's definitely good. Other than that, Wendy, of course, hasn't got anything like that, although we still get the confirmation that she's with Lamiscale. Her friendship with Chelia is still strong. It was a nice touch at the end to mention that Sherry's magic is finally coming back, which was quite heartwarming actually. It was nice to see that their friendship has endured till the end of the manga, and that Chelia was still able to use magic, given the wealth of her sacrifice in defeating Demaria. It's funny when I think about it that although Godslayer magic at the time was seen as a bit of a arsepool in terms of Zankro and Cheria, and it was pretty useless, particularly after Natsu defeated that god Itsuganagi in the Avatar arc, it was nice to she and Chelia actually use it to defeat Demaria. Doesn't it mean that the sacrifice was meaningless? Well, maybe yes in part, but it's been a year and it's nice to finally see Chelia get her magic back and see her friendship with Wendy and the rest of Lamiscale. It was nice that they focused with them in the last chapters. Aside from that, we've pretty much got a little sweep of all the other guilds. That Sabretooth are doing fine, Minerva's won the eating contest, Blue Pegasus, Itchia's. Well, of course, Itchia's alive. That's another bloody problem for people, of course. Though even I agree that personally that Anu and Itchia shouldn't have survived the time lapse. I do think that their sacrifice should have been kept, Even if Itchia was a joke character, it was quite good for his character to have had that sacrifice at the last moment, defeating Echnologia. But then again, for Mashima, Itchia is always somewhat of a favourite, a joke character. So, if he's alive, then I'll buy it. Then you've got Mermaid Heel as models. Well, why not? I mean, they are pretty attractive. And then, aside from that, like I said, it's more just a range of friendship moments from Lucy to Kana, Lucy getting drunk and Kana, plying her, Juvia and Grey stripping, and of course Gildart's getting perverted. Honestly, it's lovely seeing all these characters' new quirks and personalities for the final time. It's also quite emotional, actually. And of course, the next big shipping party as well, you've got Juvia and Grey. And again, it was nice to reference the scars that Grey and Juvia had got, or Juvia's sacrifice in the climax of the Alvarez arc. And, well, of course, it's somewhat left somewhat ambiguous, whether it's shippy or not. Grey's talking about how, the scar and the body, if it's Juvia's, then it's his. And of course, that can be taken many different ways, not only to Juvia, but to the fans. As for those fans, who knows? It has been left quite ambiguous, but personally, I don't really mind. While there are certain couples in Fairy Tale that I shipped, admittedly my personal couple didn't come true, but I'm not too bothered. Fairy Tail hasn't always been about shipping for me, but it's been about the character arcs, the character interactions, the relationships. Still, this final chapter was pretty funny in terms of how we're focusing on that. Before Mashima is this glorious, lovely troll when it comes to this. Of course, you have the Laxus shipping. Now, Laxus, for a bit of context, has generally been shipped with Mirror Jane. And of course, you have in universe, you've got Lucy referencing, oh, I've heard about these rumours. Here, Laxus and Mirror Jane? No, it's just a rumour. And then you've got Laxus and Lisana, or Laxus and Kana. Oh, I love Mashima. He totally trolls everyone by having all these different pairings. But of course, in the end, as Lucy says, this guy's just full of rumours. Otherwise, there's the Jalal and Urza pairing, which, well, there's always been the emotional pairing with Rob and Simon and the Tower of Heaven and everything that's happened since then. Well, before that, I mean, there's a little bit of reference how History's become the new queen now, and that she re-established relations with the Alvarez, which is good. I'm glad at least that wraps up that plot point. It could have just been we'd left Alvarez and never touched upon it again, so I'm glad Mashima made the time and effort to properly wrap that up. And then of course you've got, linking to this, Jalal and Crime Saucier being pardoned, which was again really nice, and it finally wraps up their character arcs. I mean, not just Sorano, Percy was my favourite. Seeing her reunion with Yukino was lovely. You have no idea how long I'd waited for that, ever since I found out they were related. That was quite emotional at the time. And even, of course, Hot Eyes crying his eyes out. Well, of course, and there's Cobra, actually. Oh, it's quite funny, actually. Mashima had this nice little tidbit in the background where Cobra and Kinana, who you might remember as Cubelios, had actually gotten together. So that was quite nice as well. But of course, the main thing is Jalal having gotten freed frees up the relationship with Urza. But of course, as with Mashima, simply that Urza had a chance, no doubtedly, to see Jalal as much as she wants. Other than that, you've got Makarov, who's in a wheelchair. Of course, Makarov didn't die. I mean, even I'd agree that was a bit much, but he's in a wheelchair. You've got Mest and Policia, shoving him around pretty much. But still, Makarov was always a great character from the beginning till the end. I think it was nice to have him in the final chapter, if nothing else. Now, for me personally, the biggest bit, and certainly for me, I think what was the biggest emotional payoff of this chapter, was the Zareth and Mavis reincarnation. For me personally, Zareth and Mavis' relationship was by far the best part of the Fairy Tail manga. Their romance and drama, and everything that came with it. It had so many different characters interact, Warrod, Pretch and Hades, you had people like Zera. So it was lovely to see. Fairy Tail Zero, for me personally, if I'm going off a bit of a tangent probably, was personally the best part of the manga. It was a spin-off, only 13 chapters, but I was truly glad when it got adapted to an anime, and the anime even expanded on some bits, such as how Zareth taught the original founders of Fairy Tail magic. That was really lovely, so I love this part. You have Mavis walking through, while Zareth's just like, oh, you dropped your cloth. And of course they start interacting, they kick it off very well. Oh, of course, and Zareth's an amateur writer as well, which is a nice little touch, considering Zareth wrote all of this book as Zareth, and now he's an amateur writer, so that's pretty nice. It does, kind of pull at your heartstrings, watching everyone who knew about Zareth and Mavis' life and all of their struggles, seeing them reunite as reincarnations. Of course, it's all a bit Yu-Gi-Oh here, but nonetheless, the interactions were lovely, with Mavis losing her shoes, they're interacting, having a laugh. Zareth and Mavis, or should I say, Arlios and Mio, guess Angsaram took some compassion and reincarnated them after all, which I'm really glad about. After that, they have them walking off into the distance, talking about August. Everyone's looking at them, satisfied. I honestly think I might do a review of Fairy Tail Zero sometime to explain how much I loved that side story and the subsequent anime adaptation. But nonetheless, moving on. Of course, then you have Lucy acting all happy, and of course everyone's just, messing about because it's Fairy Tail. And then you have Lucy sleeping, and of course she even references the whole, oh, was this all a dream? God, to think if Mashima had actually done, oh, everything since chapter 1 was a dream of Lucy's. God, how fans would have reacted. But no, really. For one last callback, you've got the Natsu being in Lucy's room randomly. Did he climb in? How did he get in? It's not creepy at all, right? But, well, it's a running gag, you know how it is. But in the end, of course, you've got Lucy and Natsu interacting. There's a funny bit where Lucy's potentially thinking, oh god, what did I do when I was drunk? But nonetheless, their final interaction is, Lucy pretty much reminiscing on everything that's happened within their 9 years of meeting each other. All of the arcs, whether it's from Edelas to Galuna Island to Phantom Lord. And honestly, this was also lovely to see for the final bit. Even Lucy's breaking down crying. And, well, that's all we're going to get, sadly. Not any outright kisses, not any outright, future kids. Which, to be honest, I'm fine with. I'll personally say that while it's fine for Naruto and Bleach to have their time skips and have, marrying particular people and having kids in the next generation, personally, I'm glad Fairy Tail didn't do that. It's not outright confirmation that it's likely, that Natsu and Lucy will probably be together. Whether in a romantic or a friendly pairing, that's up to you and how you feel about that. And so, the final part of the chapter, and of course you have Natsu, Gray, Lucy, Urza, Wendy, Happy and Carla going off on the 100-year quest. That was the one that Gildas had gone on, if I recall. It is lovely seeing that one spread of Fairy Tail going off on the final adventure. And of course, the best parallel of all is the final parallel with the end of Fairy Tail Zero. You have the narration talking about the eternal driving question. Do fairies have tails? In fact, do fairies even exist? An eternal riddle, an eternal adventure. That's the story behind our guild's name. If anyone has watched Fairy Tail Zero or read it, then this narration might seem quite familiar. My favourite character, Sarah. Honestly, it was lovely on this last page. Looking through the last chapter, for me, of course, it was somewhat emotional seeing all the characters for the last time, and at the same time, I was completely satisfied, as would anyone be. Of course, Fairy Tail, with all of its controversy and all of the, detractors, shall I say, it was never going to be a perfect ending, and that's not even getting to the ships. But honestly, seeing Zara reincarnated as a fairy on the last page, that just, was the icing on the cake for me, pretty much. Of course, you had Mavis and Zara reincarnated and being together, and Zara too. So all in all, what did I think of this chapter? As I said, it was a lovely emotional chapter for me, seeing all the characters for the final time, all their personalities and their quirks come together. You also have the narrative arcs being wrapped up, whether it's the war with Alvarez, whether it's more character-driven arcs like the struggles of Jalal and Crime Sorcière. All ships aside, I really enjoyed seeing how the characters had ended up, where they've come from since the first chapter. A lot has changed since then. A lot has changed, not just the art, but the characters' personalities, how they've interacted with each other, their relationships. To think it's been 11 years seeing Fairy Tail. This is Solaris 290.